Hey everybody, it's Gina again. I know I haven't made videos recently, but I wanted to take a minute to introduce my videos again and to try and get back in the habit of making more learning videos. Something my sponsor always told me, which makes sense, is you can catch one fish with a rod, or you can catch many fish with a net. And although I think that's true, I've been spending most of my time focusing on running group, and I work in treatment, and so every day my goal for my career changes, but ultimately, I know that I want to make a difference in people's lives. And I too suffer from the disease of addiction. I probably qualify for every anonymous program, but it wasn't until I was able to surrender and walk into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous that I really was ready to go to any lengths for victory, over my disease. And, surrender doesn't mean that we always have to like it necessarily, or acceptance. We don't always have to like it. But surrendering is a little different. I had to concede to my innermost self that I was one of these, and I too must have this thing, So it was really important for me to, learn about the allergy, that I have a bodily and abnormal reaction than normal people. And a lot of people miss that, and they want to go right on to solving the problem, and they don't often know what the problem is. So for me that was really important. And the doctor, the great Dr. Silkworth, who wrote The Doctor's Opinion, which is an absolute fact, says we suffer from an allergy which only a spiritual experience can conquer. So if you're allergic to strawberries or peanuts or shellfish, good chance you don't, ingest those things again. You might break out, or sometimes not be able to breathe and have to be rushed to the emergency room. But not so with the alcoholic and drug addiction. They say one is too many and 1,000's never enough. Why? That's seems to be the million-dollar question, but the answer is one of anything activates our allergy, and then we're obligated to continue using in spite of our best intentions. It's not over till the gorilla says it's over. And my sponsor taught me, like slaves who don't have many choices, that's how we are. We're slaves to the drugs or alcohol. So it was important to learn that I have this allergy to drugs and alcohol in any form. And every time I put one in my body, I activate this allergy and I'm obligated to continue using. And that's the physical craving. And I had this mental obsession that for decades told me that somehow, someday, I was going to be able to control and enjoy it, or use successfully, or change brands, or, stop using for a long time and then go back. And it was always worse for me. They describe it in the big book as an illness of this sort. Today we know it's a disease. And in 1956, the American Medical Association categorized addiction as a disease because it's chronic, it's progressive, and it's potentially fatal if left untreated. it's insistent and it's persistent, and it doesn't take no for an answer ever, in spite of our best wishes. So I knew my life was unmanageable, and sometimes it can still be unmanageable with or without the use of drugs and alcohol. Desperation was my key to willingness. I had to concede to my innermost self that a power greater than myself was going to restore me to sanity. And I didn't even know what sanity was. I was born into a lifestyle of brokenness from day one. And, sanity to me today means knowing. I'm fully convinced, I'm not confused about what one more will do to me. That is something I'm not confused about at all. And I had to use the group as a higher power at first, group of drunks, good orderly direction, gift of desperation, and so this time around, it was easy for me to admit my powerlessness, and I knew that I stood at the turning point, and I had to make a decision. It was gonna be all or nothing, 100%, not 10%. And God, I'll call you or Facebook you later or text you when I need you. I had to jump all in, because walking the fence never worked out well for me, and I needed to jump onto the other side 100% to make that decision. And there's a few things we need to do. Bill Wilson's objective is to build an arch in which we walk free people, mentally, free. And it wasn't until I fully surrendered that I, got to experience that freedom. And today I have joy. I believe, happiness is temporary, but my joy is permanent. You can't steal my joy, and I know it's an inside job. So his objective to get to this archway is that we're going to, build a few things. And one of them is a strong foundation. And I'll tell you what, we already know that any house built on sand is going to collapse in a storm. What are we trying to do? Build our house on cement. And that means I had to learn about the allergy, and there's a few other simple rules that I had to do. And what was one of the things I did upon awakening when I opened my eyes, Today, I know that I cannot disconnect from the very power that's saving my life. I've got to connect automatically. Like, I used to go to bed with the chatter, and then, finally fall asleep and wake up, and the chatter would be at the same spot that it left off at. Today, I know I immediately open my eyes and hit my knees, pray. I read inspirational books. Mostly I listen to inspirational music, and I meditate. And I'm not always comfortable. God puts us in this situation to serve His needs. It doesn't mean we're always going to be comfortable, but, if it's God-given, it's good. It's good. And then what do we have to do next? We have to pour in the cement in our foundation. And that's making meetings and getting a good sponsor that understands how to bring somebody through the 12 steps. You can't make all meetings and no step work, and you can't do all step work and no meetings. It's got to be, complete. Meeting makers don't always make it. My sponsor said meeting makers make meetings until they drink or use again, and then they don't. And I'm a sponsor today, and I don't get caught up in just doing step work. I know, like a good diabetic that takes his insulin shot every day, my medicine is going to a meeting, and I've disciplined myself to sit prayer to prayer. I don't get up, go to the bathroom, go, smoke a cigarette or talk to other people. I've disciplined myself enough that, I sit prayer to prayer. And there's the cornerstone, that That's the beam that supports all the weight. If you're in construction, you know that the cornerstone is going to be super valuable in adding the cement that we're going to build our structure on to get to this archway. You know, and for me, and I tell people, that's hope, faith, and trust. And it seems to be, and I know there's more components, but trust seems to be hard for us. You know, we don't trust anybody, number one. How are we supposed to trust something we can't even see? How are we supposed to make use of something, you know, we can't even see? And they often talk about being on a pink cloud, you know, and I think, listen, I'm at the end of my rope. I'm one of the last gaspers. I'm one of the users of the hopeless variety type. I was out of bargaining chips. There was no more human solutions to me. And being on a pink cloud is a human phrase. You know, and I think the grace of God is eternal, and I don't mind, you know, years later being on that pink cloud, because I know for me, you know, the way that I am internally, it's an inside job, is, you know, the grace of God is eternal. And my sponsor always taught me that humility invites clarity. Let's look at this word humility. You know, humility might mean a lot of things, but here's a really important definition: doing things we don't want to do and expecting no recognition. You know, they say karma is getting what you deserve. Well, the grace of God is getting what you don't deserve. Can you imagine if I got what I deserved? And every day I'm thinking, God, you've given me so much I don't deserve. What can I do to serve you today? You know, and it invites grace. And that's, if the grace of God is eternal, how do I get to that spot of gratitude instantly, like the minute I open my eyes? You know, there's a difference between a moment of clarity and a spiritual awakening. A moment of clarity is just that. It's fleeting. It's a moment. But having a spiritual awakening is when your spirit actually becomes awake, you know. The 12 steps is a comprehensive method to help relieve us of the obsession of the mind. It says when we straighten out spiritually, it's amazing how we straighten out mentally and physically. I'd like to help you do this. You know, as I grow in effectiveness and understanding of step work, because I'm always in deep study, I would like to make more videos and help you gain more insight and information. You know, step work provides us insight into our spiritual malady. And my sponsor says everybody likes to live in a clean house, but who likes to clean it? Kind of thing. There's much more to be talked about, but I'm gonna end here and upload this video, and you guys can message me and keep in touch. You know, I am going to make more videos soon. So thanks for listening, and I love you all so much. Have the best day ever.